The situation in Gaza has become one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world, and the story behind it is more than just war. It is about the survival of millions of people, especially Palestinians, who have nowhere left to go, as the land they once called home is being destroyed bit by bit, day by day, and map by map. And what many are calling Israel's plan to conquer Gaza is being slowly shown through the growing military control over parts of the Gaza Strip. And now, many observers say that Israel is not just trying to defeat Hamas, but also trying to redesign the entire territory in a way that forces Palestinians out or squeezes them into smaller, overcrowded, and unsafe areas. And this has been shown in many ways, including the military corridors, forced evacuations, blocked borders, destruction of homes, farmland, and even hospitals. And by looking at how Gaza is being divided on maps and how the people are being pushed from place to place without safety, food, water, or shelter, it becomes clear that this is much bigger than just military operations. It is a complete change in how Gaza looks, feels, and functions. And this all started with a massive Israeli military campaign launched after the October 2023 attacks by Hamas. But since then, the response has grown so large that most of Gaza has been reduced to rubble, with over 70% of its buildings damaged or destroyed, and more than 50,000 Palestinians killed, according to local and international sources, and more than 1.5 million people have been displaced, many of them multiple times, and they are now living in tents, damaged schools, or simply out in the open with no clean water, no food, no toilets, and no medical help. And this situation continues to get worse every day, because even the places that were called safe zones by Israel have become targets. And now the people have no idea where to go, and it's almost impossible to stay safe in Gaza anymore. And when we look at the maps of Gaza, we see how it used to be a single strip of land with cities, towns, farms, and homes, but now it is being cut into zones by Israeli military corridors like the Netzarim corridor, which runs through the center of Gaza and stops people from moving freely between the north and south, and the Philadelphia corridor, which runs along the border with Egypt, is also now under Israeli control, meaning the last major exit route for Gaza's people has been blocked. And this control of land is not just about keeping fighters out. It is about limiting the movement of all people, including families, children, and the elderly. And this is why so many people feel trapped. And the Israeli military has also introduced a new way of ordering evacuations, using online maps that divide Gaza into hundreds of small zones, with each zone given a number and label. And when an attack is planned, Israel tells people in certain zones to leave immediately. But this system does not work well because most people in Gaza do not have electricity, phone signal, or internet to check these maps. And even if they do, they have no vehicles or fuel to move their families. And when they reach the so-called safe zones, they often find no place to stay, or worse, they get bombed there too. So this leads to panic, confusion, and constant fear, and even humanitarian groups cannot deliver aid properly because they also cannot rely on these zones being safe. And all this is happening while Gaza's hospitals are being bombed or forced to shut down. And this includes major hospitals like Al-Shifa, which used to be the largest hospital in Gaza, but is now destroyed, and the health system has fully collapsed, with thousands of injured people not receiving treatment, and pregnant women giving birth in unsafe conditions, and many babies dying because of a lack of oxygen or medicine. And in addition to that, Gaza is running out of food, with reports from the United Nations saying that famine is a real danger, and many children are already dying from hunger and dehydration. And all of this destruction has left the land unlivable, with fields burned, olive trees cut, roads destroyed, water systems broken, and even cemeteries being bombed. And people now live in tightly packed camps with little to no hygiene, surrounded by death, trauma, and suffering. And what makes it worse is that the people cannot leave Gaza. Because the borders with Israel are closed, and the Rafah crossing with Egypt is also under control and mostly shut down, meaning people have no way out, and even those who are sick or injured cannot leave to get help, and humanitarian aid is blocked or delayed, and even when food trucks are allowed in, they are not nearly enough to feed the population, and in some cases, aid convoys have been attacked, looted, or turned back. And this deepens the tragedy because the people who are suffering the most, especially children, women, and the elderly, are the ones who need the most help, but they are being forgotten or ignored. And the maps of Gaza now show more red zones than green ones, which means danger zones are spreading, and safe zones are shrinking. And in reality, even the green zones are not really safe, because Israel often bombs areas shortly after declaring them safe, and this creates distrust and fear among civilians. And many refuse to evacuate because they have nowhere left to go, or because they have already moved 5 or 6 times, losing family members along the way. And many people are now saying that this is not just war. This is ethnic cleansing, and possibly even genocide, because the goal appears to be to remove Palestinians from Gaza, or make it impossible for them to return. And although Israel says it is only targeting Hamas fighters and military infrastructure, the level of civilian destruction tells a different story. And even international human rights organizations, journalists, and experts have warned that the scale of death and damage is not proportionate. And the use of weapons in civilian areas, the bombing of schools, mosques, churches, and even UN shelters, shows that there is little regard for international law